There was a time when your grandmother didn't need a label to tell her what was healthy. She just knew. The foods she reached for had been trusted for thousands of years. They grew in the soil, hung from trees, and floated in the sea. Nobody called them superfoods, nobody wrote studies about them, people simply ate them and lived. But now, modern science is catching up to what ancient cultures understood all along, and some of what researchers are finding is genuinely stunning. The olive oil secret. Let's start with something that has been pressed from fruit for over 6,000 years, olive oil. People around the Mediterranean have been drowning their food in it since before recorded history. And for most of that time, nobody questioned why those populations seemed to live so long. Now we know. Olive oil contains a compound called oleocanthal. It triggers a process in cancer cells that essentially causes them to digest themselves. Healthy cells are left completely untouched. Researchers found that oleocanthal ruptures a specific structure inside cancer cells called the lysosome. Think of it like a tiny bag of acid inside the cell. When it breaks open, the cell destroys itself within hours. Your normal cells? They simply pause for a moment and carry on. But that's only half the story. Olive oil also activates genes involved in stem cell maintenance. Studies show that populations consuming high amounts of extra virgin olive oil have measurably higher circulating stem cells in their blood. The key is that it must be extra virgin. Refined olive oil loses the very compounds that make this work. The turmeric connection. And then there's a golden root that has been used in Indian kitchens and medicine cabinets for over 4,000 years. Turmeric, you've probably heard people talk about it, maybe you've tried it in a tea or a smoothie, but most people don't realize how deep the science actually goes. The active compound is curcumin. It does something remarkable to cancer cells. It blocks a molecule called NF-κB. This molecule acts like a master switch that tells cancer cells to keep growing, keep spreading, and keep resisting treatment. Curcumin turns that switch off. At the same time, curcumin has been shown to boost a type of stem cell found in your bone marrow. These are the cells responsible for producing fresh blood cells and rebuilding damaged tissue. One study found that curcumin increased the number of these stem cells by nearly 80% in just 8 weeks. The catch is that curcumin is hard for your body to absorb on its own. Pairing it with black pepper increases absorption by up to 2,000%. Your grandmother probably already combined them without knowing why. Garlic's hidden power. Few people know this one goes back over 5,000 years. Ancient Egyptians fed garlic to the workers who built the pyramids. They believed it gave them strength and endurance. Modern research suggests they were onto something far bigger. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which forms when you crush or chop a fresh clove. Allicin has been shown to cut off the blood supply that tumors need to grow. This process is called anti-angiogenesis. Without new blood vessels, tumors can't feed themselves. They stay small, they stay weak, but garlic does something else that researchers didn't expect. It stimulates a protein that protects stem cells from oxidative damage. Your stem cells are fragile. They accumulate damage over decades. Garlic helps shield them so they last longer and work better when your body calls on them for repair. The important detail is this: you need to crush the garlic and let it sit for 10 minutes before cooking. That waiting period allows the allicin to fully form. Skip that step and you lose most of the benefit. The berry that fights back. But perhaps the most surprising story belongs to a tiny fruit that grows wild across North America and Northern Europe. The blueberry. It looks simple enough, but inside that dark skin is one of the highest concentrations of anthocyanins found in any food on Earth. Anthocyanins are the pigments that give blueberries their deep color. They also happen to interfere with every single stage of cancer development. They block the initial DNA damage. They prevent damaged cells from multiplying, and they cut off blood supply to cells that have already turned cancerous. Research published in major nutrition journals showed that blueberry extracts reduced cancer cell growth by up to 50% in laboratory settings. At the same time, those same compounds boosted neural stem cell production in the brain. That means better memory, sharper thinking, and a brain that repairs itself more effectively as you age. Mushrooms from the forest floor. Now this next one might actually surprise you. Mushrooms. Not the button mushrooms you toss in a salad. We're talking about ancient varieties. Shiitake, maitake, reishi. These fungi have been used in Chinese and Japanese medicine for over 2,000 years. Emperors drank reishi tea because they believed it granted long life. Science now shows why. These mushrooms contain compounds called beta-glucans. Beta-glucans wake up your immune system in a very specific way. They activate natural killer cells. These are the immune cells whose entire job is to find and destroy cancer cells before they can form tumors. One study found that Maytake mushroom extract doubled natural killer cell activity in just 3 weeks. And the stem cell connection is just as powerful. Reishi mushroom has been shown to promote the growth of hematopoietic stem cells. These are the stem cells that produce every type of blood cell in your body. More of them means a stronger immune system and faster recovery from illness, the green tea tradition. And then there's the drink that Buddhist monks have been sipping for over 1,000 years to stay alert during meditation, green tea. The compound that matters most is called EGCG. It stands for a long chemical name, but what it does is simple. EGCG starves cancer cells of their energy supply. It blocks an enzyme that cancer cells need to process glucose. Remember, cancer cells consume sugar at a rate far higher than normal cells. When you block that pathway, healthy cells adapt just fine. Cancer cells struggle and slow down. Green tea also protects stem cells from aging. EGCG activates a pathway that keeps stem cells in a resting protected state until your body actually needs them. This prevents them from burning out too quickly. 2 to 3 cups a day is the amount used in most studies, and loose-leaf green tea contains significantly more EGCG than tea bags. The cruciferous powerhouse. Few vegetables carry as much quiet power as broccoli, and its cousins. Cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, kale, cabbage. These cruciferous vegetables contain a compound called sulforaphane. It forms when you chew or chop them. Sulforaphane does something no drug has been able to replicate safely. It activates a defense system inside your cells called the NRF2 pathway. When this pathway switches on, your cells begin producing their own antioxidants. They start repairing damaged DNA. They become more resistant to the mutations that lead to cancer. Sulforaphane also supports stem cell populations in the gut. Your intestinal lining replaces itself every few days, and it depends on a constant supply of fresh stem cells to do so. Research shows sulforaphane keeps those stem cells healthier and more active. Broccoli sprouts contain up to 50 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli. A small handful on a sandwich or salad gives you a remarkable dose. The pomegranate effect. But the research gets even more fascinating with a fruit that ancient Persians considered sacred, the pomegranate. Inside those ruby red seeds is a compound called urolithin A. Your gut bacteria actually create it when you eat pomegranate. Urolithin A does something extraordinary. It triggers a cleanup process inside your cells called mitophagy. Old, damaged mitochondria are broken down and recycled. Fresh, efficient ones take their place. This is directly tied to both cancer prevention and stem cell health. When your mitochondria work better, your cells produce less oxidative stress. Less oxidative stress means less DNA damage, and less DNA damage means fewer opportunities for cancer to take hold. Studies show urolithin A can double the lifespan of stem cells in laboratory conditions. Your body's repair crew stays on duty longer and works harder. The ginger root revival. Now here's one that your grandmother almost certainly kept in her kitchen: ginger. It has been used across Asia for over 3,000 years. Fresh ginger contains a compound called 6-gingerol. This compound has been shown to force cancer cells into a state called apoptosis. That means programmed cell death. The cancer cell receives a signal to shut itself down permanently. Healthy cells are not affected. Ginger also reduces chronic inflammation throughout the body. Chronic inflammation is one of the primary drivers of both cancer growth and stem cell exhaustion. When inflammation stays high for years, your stem cells work overtime trying to repair the damage. Eventually, they burn out. Ginger helps lower that inflammatory load. Your stem cells get a rest, they recover, they last longer. A thumb-sized piece of fresh ginger in hot water each morning is all it takes. The seaweed that rebuilds. And finally, there's a food that has been harvested from the ocean for thousands of years across Japan, Korea, and coastal China. Seaweed, specifically a type called fucoidan-rich brown seaweed. Varieties like wakame and kombu are the most studied. Fucoidan is a complex sugar found in the cell walls of brown seaweed. It has been shown to block cancer cells from forming new blood vessels. Without blood supply, tumors cannot grow beyond a tiny size. But the stem cell research is what truly sets seaweed apart. Fucoidan has been shown to mobilize stem cells from your bone marrow into your bloodstream. This means more repair cells circulating through your body, reaching damaged tissues faster. One clinical study showed a 70% increase in circulating stem cells after just 2 weeks of fucoidan supplementation. Populations that eat seaweed regularly, particularly in Okinawa, Japan, have some of the lowest cancer rates and longest lifespans ever recorded. The ocean has been offering this gift for millennia. Most of us just never reached